Hey guys, I just wanted to hop on here today um, to pay homage to the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, that's another thing. Like if you know me and you know me well, then you know that I'm a music fan. I'm not a fan of country music or this music or that music. I am, hold up, oh, gosh. I'm a fan of music in general, like no specific genre. I listen to all of it. I'm a music lover. Um, Everything is about music. I mean, you know, I'm singing all the time. Everything that I'm doing, I'm singing. I'm cooking, I'm singing. If I'm folding clothes, I'm singing. Working, I'm singing. And one of my faves was Ozzy. As a matter of fact, my youngest son, who who turns 14 today. Happy birthday, buddy. Um, One of the first songs that he ever learned to sing was Crazy Train. It was hilarious. I picked him up from, I didn't use daycare. I had friends and family that uh, sat, with my children back when I was in the corporate world. And anyway, I pulled up to Kim's house and picked my son up, and I think he was like two, maybe three, and I put him in the back of in the car seat, in the back seat, and everything. And I cranked up the car, and when I did, Crazy Train started playing. The radio station that I had it on was turned, and Crazy Train started playing. And all of a sudden, like I hear this little, in the beginning of the song, there's a part where Ozzy Osbourne laughs. He goes, ha 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 ha. And literally like on cue. As soon as the song got to that part, I hear my little buddy back there. Ah, he loved Crazy Train. We all love Ozzy Osbourne. As a matter of fact, I mean that's one of the things that I binge on at night. Uh, After if I don't have anything left to do, got the kids to bed and all that. The Basement Tapes podcast. I've been really enjoying that. And so, I'm just so sad. I can't imagine a world without Ozzy Osbourne in it. Yeah, I mean, I know he's not a Satan worshiper. No, not a Satan worshiper. No, he didn't think the bat was real. He thought that it was a rubber bat. He did not know it was real. Um, he's a remarkable family man, loves his children, to the moon, loves his grandchildren, and loves his wife like beyond measurable. Um, yeah, I'm sad. I'm sad. But this is, like I said, this is part of me. It's my channel, and like I said, it's from the beginning. It's probably going to be a mismatch of, my what I'm passionate about, and then, every once in a while you gotta learn something about me, right? So today you've learned that I'm a music lover, and that one of my favorite artists is Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath. Yeah, Mom, I'm coming home. What's even man, what even makes it even sadder is that he just performed his final concert. Um, I believe it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago in London. They played their last concert at the same venue in London where they played their first concert. And after the concert was over, Kelly, who was on the Osbourne show, his daughter, she has a little boy. And after the show, her boyfriend, the father of her son, proposed to her backstage. So, yeah, she got engaged right after the final concert, and you know. But I think that sometimes, often as parents, I know that mine did anyway, that we will hold on. Like when my mother died, my mother became suddenly ill. Um, Literally, the entire thing was 5 weeks total. She went from being fine to, not being fine. I was 7.5 months pregnant with my youngest son, and we had already been told that she had cancer, but they were never able to find out where her cancer originated from, because that's what that literally was why she died. It was the end stage cancer. By the time she got to where we had to take her to the hospital, um, she basically had tumors everywhere. They were all in her colon. Um, However, but the problem is we know for sure that because my mom was, I mean, she was really, she always went to her doctor's appointments and everything. And we do know that as of her last, doctor's visit with the gynecologist, we know that she did not have cervical cancer, or anything like that. There were no, she had a mammogram done at that time too, and, there were no lumps in her breast at that time. So within a year, if something did pop up, reproductively, it popped up after her yearly exam and her mammogram, and literally like just sped through her body like wildfire. But as I said, the doctor told us, he said, all we know is that, yeah, she has cancer because she has tumors everywhere. It is metastasized all through her body. But, unfortunately, we cannot tell you where it originated from because we don't know. So now we're in that great group of people that we literally have to take into consideration every cancer, I guess, pre-diagnostic or diagnostic, testing that we have to do, because, we have to be sure because we have no idea where it started out. So, so that means that, we all the time we have to have our colonoscopies once a year, and of course mammograms once a year, and, all of that great stuff that goes along with all that. But yeah, like, but anyway, it was very sudden, and it wasn't anything that we had prepared for. I know that I certainly had not. I'm the baby of the family. I was pregnant with my baby of my family. I was 7.5 months pregnant, and I fully expected my mother to be home with me like she always had been for my other babies. And, unfortunately, she wasn't. But getting back on track, I mean, basically, they had come to the point where there was nothing more that they could do for her. And the doctor basically told us, we can try to treat her. And and that's a big if, we can get her well, she'll never be able to live on her own again. She would have to have 24-hour, care. Um, and so the other option was to pull all the meds that were basically keeping her alive. Um, and he told us that he believed that if we, chose that option, that she would probably have about 7 days. Which my mother was she was a prude. Okay, if you looked up the definition of prude in the dictionary, my mother's picture would be there. Okay, so like my mother had discussions with all of us multiple times throughout our lives about how if she ever got cancer, she didn't want treatment. If she, talking about when she died, she, you better not let people walk by me in that casket talking about how good I look. Hell no, I don't look good. I'm damn dead. So yeah, we knew that my mother would not, um, and that was the big if they were able to get her well enough to leave the hospital, she would have to be in the 24-hour care. So if that even happened, but we knew that, that meant that she would not be able to do anything for herself. And that would be very embarrassing for her. So, we all made the decision that we were, going to just pull the drug, because basically they were having to give her diuretics because her body was just taking on fluid. She couldn't eat anymore. She literally could not eat. Like, she was hungry. She would smell food and she would want the food. But due to the dementia that had been brought on by the mini strokes that she had had in quick succession, she literally did not know how to eat. Like, she would be hungry and she would smell the food, and we would tell her, well, Mama, do you want my hamburger? Here, you can have it. Eat it. Eat my hamburger. I don't care. And, you'd hand her the food, and she would just sit there and she would look at it. And then, 5 or 10 minutes later, you'd ask her, Mama, are you going to eat? And she would just, and it was because she literally had forgotten how to eat. She had lost so much weight. I mean, you could literally see the tumors through her skin. I mean, she had lost that much weight in such a quick amount of time. It was 5 to 6 weeks. But we decided to take her off the diuretics because that was she kept building up fluid around her heart and all that, and in her lungs, and that was drawing the fluid off. And we decided, we have an excellent hospice facility here, and those nurses there are trained. I mean, they are excellent. They don't even have to take vitals on a patient. They can tell literally by the way that they're breathing if they are, about to, take their final breaths. Literally by the way they're breathing. At this hospice facility, the only things that they gave them were oxygen and pain medication to keep her comfortable. And that wasn't, even intravenously, that was liquid by mouth. And so, we had her transferred over there, and she got there on Tuesday. And I saw her Tuesday night, and Wednesday, I got up, and I had a 5-year-old at the time too. Um, and my husband at the time, he was off work anyway that week because we had all stars, baseball all stars. If you're a boy mom baseball person, you know all about that. And he was a coach. He coached, oh my gosh, for years. He should have been a coach. He should have been a baseball coach. He just didn't. But anyway, so Wednesday morning we get up and then we go down there, and like I said, it's end of May. I'm 7.5 months pregnant. I'm huge because I'm a tiny woman. I mean, I know you can't tell that on the other side of this, but I'm only 5'1", and I was huge, and it was hot, and my two brothers and my sister, they were all there too, as well as other family members that had come to, visit, the final visit, and finally that night around 9 o'clock, my brothers and my sister, like literally, I was sitting in a chair at the foot of her bed, and my brothers and my sisters walked into the room and surrounded me, and they were like, honey, you need to go home. We talked to the nurses. The nurses say that her vitals are great, that she is doing fine, that her breathing is fine. They don't foresee anything changing overnight. So you need to go home. Your feet are swollen around your shoes. Like your feet are like coming, and they were. Like I had on, of course, little sandals, and my feet were so swollen that, it was gross. Ankles were swollen. I had cankles, and but yeah, and they were like, you need to go home and get some rest. And so I said, okay. I was like, well, all right, if the nurses say that, she's okay, then I'll go. So that's what I did. And I was, by the time when we got home, I remember walking into the house, and I looked at my, then husband, and I said, do you think that you can put the baby down for me? Because I'm really tired. I'd really like to go on to bed. And of course, he was like, yeah, no problem, I mean, he's 5. It was pretty much just get his pajamas on him and put him into bed and give him a good night kiss and say his prayers, and that was it. But I went back to, I kissed my 5-year-old goodnight, and went to my room. I changed into my PJs, brushed my teeth, washed my face, threw my hair up in a bun, and I got in bed. And as soon as I laid my head down on my pillow, my cell phone started ringing, and I picked it up. I saw it was my brother, and honestly, what went through my head was, oh, I wonder what he forgot to tell me, or that was what went through my head. Like I wasn't worried, I was thinking he must have forgot to tell me something. So I answered the phone, and he told me, he said, hey, you need to get back up here. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, she's getting ready to go. She's getting ready to go. And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, literally 30 minutes ago, the nurses said that she was absolutely doing wonderful, and that they didn't foresee any changes happening overnight. And he said, I know. He said, but about 10-15 minutes after you left, her breathing changed, and the nurses came in here, and they told us that this is it, so you need to get back down here. And I was like, okay. So I hang up the phone, throw my clothes back on, I go running out, tell my husband, hey, we've got to go back, and We got our neighbor, who was also one of our best friends. We got him to come sit at the house, with the boys, so that we wouldn't have to wake them up. Our older boys were there too, but they were already asleep. So, and we got in the car, and my husband drove about 50 miles an hour through the middle of our town. There's a main road. I live in a small town. There's a main road that runs down through the middle of town. He turned his flashers on, drove 50 miles an hour, which speed limit is like 35. With flashers on, he ran through every red light that he came upon, trying to get us there, as quickly as possible. But as soon as we pulled up and got out of the vehicle, I went walking, toward the building to go in, and my brothers and my sister walked out, and they said, we're sorry, but she's already gone. But the thing is, I kind of expected it. It didn't surprise me. I truly believe, like I said, I'm the baby of the family. Not only am I the baby of the family, I'm pregnant, with my, caboose baby. And, I thoroughly believe that my mother, I was there all day that day. I didn't leave the room. I sat right there at her bed. I believe that my mother could not let go with me being there. Even though she had stopped all communication. It had been several days since she had even opened her eyes, or communicated verbally. I mean, it had been several days since she communicated verbally or anything like that. I still believe that she knew we were there. And I believe that she literally waited until she knew that I had left the building before she, let go to pass away, to pass on. I truly believe that. I mean, cause like I said, these nurses, they're awesome, and for her to go from, oh, she's fine, no, she's fine, to she's taking her last breaths, But I believe that, I believe that I was holding her back from passing, And so I believe she did not want to pass with me there. I had similar experiences with my grandmother. My grandmother, when she died, she was doing what they call, the death rattle. They had called us in. We had called at that point in time. One of my brothers and his wife lived about 2 hours away, and my sister and her husband lived about 3 hours away. And they called us. I remember we went to she was in a assisted living facility, and they called us there. Gosh, I think around 8 o'clock at night, and we immediately called everybody, and we went on. And she was doing, the death rattle, and the hospice nurse just couldn't believe it. She was like, maybe y'all need to try to talk to her, and tell her that it's okay for her to let go, because, she said, and she kept coming in there and giving her doses of Xanax, intravenously. And every time she would do it, she would say, okay, I think that once I give her this dose, I believe that this will ease her into passing. And every time, it did not work. So time went on, time went on. Well, here walks in my sister actually made it here before my brother and his wife did. So here comes my sister and her husband walking in there, and okay, we told her about the whole thing, go up there, talk to her, tell her that it's okay, that she can let go, and let's see what happens. And yep, she did that, and nope, nope, nope. Granny just kept on rolling. I mean, she was she was fighting, and the hospice nurse told us, she's fighting it. She's fighting it for some reason. And about an hour later, my brother that lives out of town and his wife arrived. I met them in the hallway. I took them to her room. We went into the room. I literally said to them, "Okay," I said, I've got to go to the potty right quick, so I'll be right back." Which, of course, the room had a bathroom in it, but and I go in the bathroom to pee, and I come out, and she's gone. I mean, it took me all of like maybe a minute and 30 seconds to get my pants down, tinkle, get everything back up, and wash my hands right quick, and open the door. Because, like I said, the bathroom's in the room. And basically, when my brother, who was the last grandchild, my mother was an only child, so was my father. But so all the grandkids were there at that point. And as soon as my brother went over to the bed and he leaned down and he gave her a kiss, and he talked to her, and told her that he loved her, and told her that if she needed to go, that it was okay, that she could go. And she literally, boom, quit breathing, done. And I was like, then I said, okay. I said, she was fighting it because all of her kids weren't here. I mean, she basically raised us too. There were four of us. I have two brothers and a sister. And my parents, I was the baby of the family. I was an accident. So most of my brothers and my sisters are way older than me. Like, my oldest brother is 18 years older than me. My sister was 16 years older than me. And then my youngest brother is 9 years older than me. I was the oopso, whatever. But so needless to say, by the time I was one, my parents were divorced. And being that my mother was an only child, my grandparents basically told my mother, just bring the kids, come on, we'll all live together, and no problems. And so my grandparents basically raised us, just as much as my mom did. And so to my grandmother, we were, as a matter of fact, their will didn't leave everything to my mother. Their will, my grandparents' will, was split up 5 different ways. One being my mother, and then her 4 children. Because she looked at us as hers too. And so, yeah, my grandmother, she held on. She fought it until my brother made it, and once everybody was there, literally, as soon as he kissed her on the cheek, told her that he loved her, and that if she needed to go, that she could go, she literally just right then, that was it. She was gone. And so, I believe that sometimes when we have older people in our lives that may be sick and fighting battles with illnesses, and as like Ozzy Osbourne, has been, he's been suffering with a form of Parkinson's disease. Kelly, in his world of children, Jack's a man. Jack is settled, married, with his children. They have an older daughter, Amy, and she also is, settled with her children. And then you had Kelly, and Kelly, had her little boy, but, you know, it, she still wasn't married, and so, maybe, possibly, the fact that, she got engaged on the night of, the last concert, maybe that helped his body and his mind relax into knowing, okay, everybody, in other words, everybody's taken care of, everybody's good. I'm not going to be, if I leave now, I'm not going to be leaving anyone hanging, everybody's good. So, but yeah, man, I'm sad. I'm really, really sad. I can't believe it. Like, my oldest son didn't even want to tell me. He was like, oh no, and I was like, what? And he said, something that, has been a rumor is actually true. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because, for me, that is like that could be a multitude of things. I mean, look at what the things that I'm involved in. Rumors run rampant everywhere. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking? What rumor are you talking about exactly? And he just was like, he wouldn't even look at me, and he just looked down. And he goes, Ozzy. He said, Ozzy's dead. And I was like, no. I'm like, no, I can't believe it. So, like, even my kids knew, like, she's going to have a fit, and I did, but I'm okay now. But anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to jump on and, oh man, just throw up some respect and honor for the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne. You know, Mama Sharon, he's going home. So, rest in peace, Ozzy. And of course, we will have his whole family. He's got several grandchildren, many grandchildren. We'll have his wife, kids, and grandkids, because he also has 2 older children from his first marriage as well. So, we will have them all in our thoughts and prayers. Rest in peace, Ozzy. Love you guys.